I never thought a single night could change everything, but here I am trying to make sense of what happened. It all started innocently, or at least I thought it did. My wife Emily had a playful side. Over the years, it had surfaced in harmless pranks, little jokes, or playful surprises that were meant to keep the spark alive in our marriage. I loved that about her. But this time, what she suggested would cross lines I hadn't even imagined existed. It was a Friday evening. We had just finished dinner, and the room was dimly lit by the soft glow of the lamps. The conversation started lightly, as it often did, with idle chatter about work, friends, and our weekend plans. Then Emily looked at me with that mischievous sparkle in her eyes. "Ben," she said softly, leaning in slightly, "I have an idea." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, what kind of idea?" She smiled, but it wasn't her usual playful grin. There was a seriousness there I hadn't seen before. "I was thinking, what if my sister Claire took my place tonight?" I laughed nervously. "Wait, took your place? What do you mean?" Emily's eyes were sparkling, almost hypnotic. "You know how much Claire and I look alike." I thought, maybe we could have a little fun, a harmless swap for the night. She pretends to be me while I step out for a while. I froze. The thought of her sister sitting in our house, pretending to be my wife, made my heart pound in a way I couldn't describe. Part of me thought this was ridiculous. Part of me, however, felt a thrill, an adrenaline rush I wasn't expecting. "You're serious?" I asked cautiously. "Absolutely," she said, leaning closer. "It'll be fun. Trust me. You know Claire. She's trustworthy. And it's just for a night I wanted to object, to tell her no. The idea felt wrong, dangerous even, but I also trusted Emily, and I loved her. Somehow, I found myself nodding. "All right," I said quietly. "If you think it's safe, I'll go along with it." Later that evening, Claire arrived. The resemblance between her and Emily was uncanny. The way she moved, the tone of her voice, even the way she smiled, it was almost eerie. For a moment, I actually forgot which one was my wife. Emily explained the plan once more and then left for a girls' night with a few friends. Claire stayed behind, sitting in Emily's chair, wearing her clothes, mimicking her expressions. The room felt strange, familiar yet unfamiliar at the same time. At first, everything seemed harmless. We watched a movie together, laughed about old stories, and chatted casually. Claire's presence was comforting in a way. She understood Emily's humor, her expressions, even the little quirks that made me smile. But as the night progressed, I noticed a shift. The playful banter began to feel intimate. Claire's touch, her laughter, the way she leaned closer, all of it made my heart race in ways I hadn't anticipated. I told myself it was just a game, a harmless fantasy, but the more I tried to rationalize it, the more complicated it became. My mind was racing. I knew this wasn't just about fun anymore. It was emotional, physical, and far more intense than I had expected. Then it happened. Claire leaned closer, whispering something in my ear. Her words were soft, teasing, and filled with attention that made me pause. It was then I realized how dangerous this experiment had become. What started as harmless fun had crossed into territory I wasn't prepared for. I froze, unsure of how to respond. Part of me wanted to stop, to remind her that this was just roleplay, but another part of me, a part I didn't like to admit, felt a thrill. The thrill of something forbidden, something secret, something out of the ordinary. Minutes passed like hours. Every glance, every touch, every movement felt charged. The line between Emily and Claire blurred. I kept telling myself that Emily would be back soon, that this was temporary, that it was harmless. But it wasn't harmless anymore. Finally, Emily returned. She had been watching from a distance, or so it felt. She smiled knowingly, as if she understood the tension that had built. I could feel the weight of her gaze, and for the first time that night, I realized that the situation had grown far beyond her original plan. Emily didn't scold me. She didn't question anything. She simply observed, and that observation made the moment even more intense. What was supposed to be a playful swap had evolved into something deeper, something complicated. By the end of the night, we all sat together in silence. The energy in the room was heavy. Claire went back to her normal self, but the experience had left a mark. Emily and I looked at each other, both aware that the boundaries we thought we had in place had been broken. In the days that followed, the tension lingered. I could feel a shift in our relationship. Trust, while not completely broken, was tested in ways I hadn't anticipated. Emily and I had to have long, honest conversations about boundaries, about desires, and about the limits of experimentation. I realized then that some fantasies, no matter how harmless they seem, can escalate quickly. They blur lines, test trust, and push people into situations they're not ready to handle. What started as a playful, innocent idea had become a defining moment for us, a lesson in honesty, limits, and the fragility of relationships. Looking back, I can see now that Emily's intention wasn't malicious. She wanted excitement, novelty, something to reignite the spark between us. But the reality was that she underestimated how quickly things could spiral. And I, caught in the middle, had to navigate emotions I wasn't prepared for. Our marriage survived, but it changed. The trust and intimacy we once had were still there, but now with a layer of caution, a subtle awareness of how fragile certain boundaries can be. The night had taught me something invaluable, that even the closest relationships require clear communication and respect for emotional limits. And as for Emily and Claire, we all laughed about it later, eventually. But the lesson remained. Some games are meant to be fun, and some can take you farther than you ever expected.